Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jennifer, and if you're new here, this channel is made to encourage you guys when life get to life, and baby, we all need that encouragement. And I'm here to remind you that God is for you, God is with you, and to just help you in your journey with Him. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Right, so this video is about why God sometimes blocks our plans. And when I tell you, yo, oh my gosh, God has been really showing me some things about me that I didn't know was there. And I've been in a season where I've been focused on my career, trying to get to a place where financially I'm stable. Because that's like what I desire. I want to be financially stable. I don't want to worry about money. I want to be working a job that I want to work. And recently, I've been putting my trust in this thing. I've been putting my trust in an opportunity. And, God has yet to make it happen, when I thought it was going to happen. And when I tell you it crushed me, but also I found myself so anxious, found myself so worried about what's next, worried about if this person, if, this thing is going to reach out to me, if it's going to be a yes or no. Like found myself so anxious where like my heart was, there'll be times where I'm laying in the bed and my heart is beating out my chest. And it's just like, for what? Why am I stressing myself out about this? And God revealed to me is because I'm putting my faith and my trust in that and instead of Him. And I was like, wow, I didn't even realize how much I was putting my trust in man, in career, in money. And God was like, no, like that's the reason why I haven't let it happen yet. Is because I'm showing you where you are putting your trust in, and I'm trying to redirect you to me. And so God led me into Second Chronicles 16. So let's read. So I'm gonna give you a little summary of Second Chronicles 16 before I read a few chapters from the Bible. So in this chapter, Asia seeks human help instead of God. And so Asia is the king at the time, king of Basha of Israel. So Asia is king of Basha of Israel and fortifies Ramah to block Judah. So they're going to war with each other. And Asia, instead of seeking God, as he did earlier in the earlier chapters, he was seeking God for help. He was going to God. But until in this chapter, he doesn't. He decides not to seek God. He takes silver and gold from the temple and palace and sends it to Ben-Hadad of Aram to form an alliance. So instead of Asia trusting God to fight for him, Asia, for some reason, he didn't want to trust God in this situation. He didn't think God could handle it. So he put his trust in man, wanting to form an alliance with another person to help him win his battle. And in the chapter, his plan works. Ben-Hadad attacks Israel, forcing Baasha to stop building at Ramah. But Asia, the King Asia, seizes the materials and strengthens his own city. So outwardly, we see that his plan succeeds. Like he formed an alliance with the other people and they won. And so his city didn't get destroyed. But something happened in Asia's heart. He compromised. Asia trusted political alliance and money instead of God's power. So I'm gonna stop right here and just like think about how crazy it is for a lot of us when God has been so faithful in previous chapters of our life, and then we come to a point where we're in the heat of a moment when things get intense, when life gets to life, and we tend to forget that God is faithful enough to bring us out of this situation. you know? But we turn to idols, we turn to money, we turn to humans, putting our trust in him in that instead of him. When God has proven, has a track record of his faithfulness. And like I'm guilty, like I'm guilty of doing the same thing. Just like with the Israelites, him leading them through the wilderness, him being able to give them manna every day, providing them for what they need every day, fighting for them. But the Israelites were steady complaining bad about being going through the wilderness when God was right there with them. And like God is just trying to show us that no matter how hard life gets, he wants us to still depend on him. When he promotes us, he wants to trust that we're not going to put our trust in that. When he blesses us, he wants to trust that we're not going to put our trust in that because he knows where that can lead to. He knows that once we do that, put our trust in those things, that has our heart and not him. And when anything else has your heart instead of God, you're in a dangerous place because those things are unstable. Those things don't have the power to sustain you. Only God does. All right, so let's now get into Second Chronicles 16. Let's read. So I'm gonna go down into. I really want you all to read this on your own if you can read the whole chapter, but for the purpose of this video, the timing and stuff, I'm gonna shorten it a little bit. So we're going to Second Chronicles 16, verse 7. At that time, Hananiah the seer came to King Asa and told him, because you have put your trust in the king of Aram instead of in the Lord your God, you miss your chance to destroy the army of the king of Aram. Don't you remember what happened to the Ethiopians and the Libyans and their vast army, with all of their chariots and charioteers? At that time you relied on the Lord, and he handed them over to you. The eyes of the Lord search the whole earth in order to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him. What a fool you have been. From now on, you will be at war. Asa became so angry with Hananiah of saying this that he threw him into prison and put him in stocks. And at that time, Asa also began to oppress some of his people. So, wow. You see here that God sent the prophet to confront Asa and to show him and to tell him that like the Lord is not pleased with how you put your trust in something else other than him. And you see how Asa, it says here that he became so angry with the truth. He became so angry with the truth that he threw God's prophet into jail. And he also soon oppressed some of God's people. So you see here already how not trusting in God for a split second, putting your trust in other things, can harden your heart. He was a king that once seeked God, but the moment he took his eyes off of God, his trust off of God, it turned his heart. And now he's oppressing some of God's people. And so that's why it's so important for God to have our whole heart, for us to give him our whole heart. And I know it's not easy, trust me. It hasn't been easy for me, especially as I'm getting older, you know? Like I'm desiring for things to be stable. I'm desiring things to be better, you know? But God is just like, he's been just speaking to me like, I want to know that I have your heart. I want to know if I decide to bless you, if I decide to do this thing for you, am I going to have your heart or is this thing going to have your heart? Because God has been faithful. He deserves it. He deserves our heart. God has been so faithful. Why can't he have our whole heart? God doesn't want us to get caught up in society, caught up in this world, being worldly. I see so many of it today. So many people put their trust in the wrong thing. So many people are so caught up in making money and doing this and, just seeking all this power. But all of that is empty without God. All of that means nothing when you don't have God, because God can only give you true peace, true stability, true hope, because God is unchanging. Us humans, we change every day with our emotions. We're up and down one day. Money, the job market, you can have a job one day and lose it the next. But God is stable. He never changes. His love never changes. So that's why it's important. And our hearts know that. And so a lot of God sometimes blocks our plans. Just like Asia in this chapter, God doesn't allow certain alliances to work out because he knows they pull our trust away from him. Sometimes he holds a job, a financial opportunity, or an easy way forward because he wants us to learn to put our trust in him and to learn that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord. Deuteronomy 8:3. Delays, denials, and closed doors are not just rejections, but towards they are redirecting us towards a deeper relationship with God, to a deeper trust in God. So Asia's story shows the tragedy of starting strong but not enduring in faith. God values those who stay humble and faithful to the end. And you see in the Bible with a lot of these kings, a lot of these people in the Bible, they start off strong. They start off trusting in God, seeking God, and then they compromise. Then they fall into sin. But God is seeking and desiring for us to endure the trials, to continue to stay faithful. He's trying for us to continue to stay faithful. Comfort replaces dependence in crisis. In this chapter, Asia relied on God, but in his own self, once he was secure in his own self, in his own ways, he relied on himself. Prosperity often tempts us to forget the source, and we begin to think we don't need God as much once life feels stable, until trouble exposes our misplaced trust. And that's why God says in the word, count it all joy when you face trials, because that's God's grace showing us, helping us see what has our hearts. So if you're going through hard times, if you're going through denials, delays, God is trying to show you what you have your trust in. Those situations tend to show God, to show us what we're placing our trust in. Like this situation with me and this opportunity that I wanted to happen so bad. And when it didn't happen when I wanted it to, I'm telling you, I felt so anxious. We can have a job one day and next day be unemployed. We can, as humans, we can feel up one day and down the next. But when we lean on God, anxiety loosens its grip because he is steady, faithful, and unchanging. So to close, when we get anxious about finances or jobs, it's often because the world's message has gotten louder in our hearts than God's promise. God is Jehovah Jireh, our provider. He feeds the sparrows and clothes the lilies. And he sees us as worth more than the lilies. So if he clothes and feeds the lilies, flowers, but he considers us worth more, way more, then why do we worry about tomorrow? Why do we put our trust in anything other than him? So, as I end this video, I want to end with this. The closed doors you've experienced aren't punishment. They're just protection from building trust in a shaky ground. All right, y'all. I encourage you guys to check your heart. Ask God to check your heart, because baby, he had to check mine. He had to check mine. Ask God. Ask him to check your heart. Ask him, Lord, what has my heart? Is there anything that has my heart other than you? Because at the end of the day, God wants our whole heart. Because when he has our heart, he has us. And when he has us, we can walk in peace. We can walk in joy. We can walk in his blessings. And that's what God wants to do. He wants to bless us. He wants us to live a life filled with joy. But one thing about God, he's not going to, I think Jackie Hill Perry said this, God is not going to create a life where he is not needed. He is not going to create a life where he is not necessary. Because he wants us to depend on him. And if it's going to be those trials, if it's going to be rejection, if it's going to be going through having to suffer a little bit, then count it all worth it. Because anything that redirects you to God, that redirects you to our Father in heaven, count it all joy and be thankful for that thing. Because God is the prize at the end of the day. So I love you guys. I pray this video encourages you. And I pray y'all have a blessed and beautiful day.